I was surprised. People know me because of Sell Any Car.
I've seen you with Kendall Jenner. You gifted her a Rolls Royce.
No, it's confidential.
I have $1 million in my bank account.
Maybe like a month after I started my business.
Do you like the word billionaire?
That I don't work for money.
I was surprised to hear this.
I think it's a drop in the ocean. You don't know how much money you need.
Does your sister know you're doing all of this?
So she's 31 years old, but mentally she's maybe 6.
Does it make you emotional when you think about her?
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's what I work for.
Hello guys, welcome back to a new episode of the First Million podcast. Today I'm joined by the founder and CEO of SellAnyCar.com. Saigheen, Yalshn, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
How are you feeling?
Good, bit tired, but good.
Yes, you've been traveling a lot recently.
Yes.
Yeah. How many trips have you recently took, like in the past, I would say 1 month?
Oh, maybe like 25.
Wow, that's
It
crazy.
was like last month was crazy, but usually I don't travel that much.
Well, welcome back to UAE. We're glad to have you here. My first question for you, Saigheen, is you're a CEO that does not hide behind his logo.
Yes.
You've said this before. As a content creator, what have you gained as a content creator more than what you've gained, or if more, than as a CEO? What do you say to that?
What did I gain more as a content creator compared to?
What have you gained as a content creator versus what you've gained as a CEO?
From social media? Mm-hmm. I try to not distinguish these two. I think being known on social media creates trust with the audience, which a CEO and hence his companies need, especially if you're a CEO of a startup and you don't have, well, trust from the consumers because people don't know you yet. Then it's good to be seen and show your face and be accountable for what you're doing and responsible for what you're doing. I think it creates some kind of responsibility that you would not have if you could just hide behind your logos. So I think I don't want to distinguish these two. I think I'm Saigheen Yalshn, the CEO, but also the same person when it's on social media.
So you don't consider yourself a content creator, or you do?
Well, I am a content creator, yes. Mm-hmm. But it's both me. I'm a CEO that also creates content.
So you think you have, like, because my question was you haven't gained so much from being a content creator, or do you think, like, even if you didn't make these videos, you'd still live the same life, or has it added value to your life maybe more than what you have been surprised with?
So what did I learn? I mean, look, we try to measure as much as possible of how much actually our social media content adds to our companies. Mm-hmm. It is very tough because we cannot know how much actually people come to our companies because they have seen us on social media. Obviously, the direct links and the clickable and the trackable activity, yes, we can measure that. But I usually ask around and say, do you know me, Saigheen Yalshn, because of Sell Any Car, or do you know Sell Any Car because of Saigheen Yalshn? And I was surprised. People know me because of Sell Any Car. It was really interesting because I thought, okay, maybe people know me more than my company. But in the UAE, actually, our company is more famous than I am.
So the celebrity here is Sell Any Car, not Saigheen Yalshn yet, here in the UAE.
Yeah, I think it's good. I like it. Yeah. I like that Sell Any Car is more popular.
So speaking of celebrities, like you on social media, you take a lot of videos and vlogs, and you vlog with celebrities a lot. Like I've seen you with Nusrat, I've seen you with Kendall Jenner, I've seen you with Jason Derulo. Like you have these people in your vlogs. What have they added to your life? Having these people around you, these celebrities or these influencers even, how do they influence your life now?
In the same way anybody else influences me. I love people. I love to be around people. Some of them are known and some of them are not known. But generally, I wouldn't distinguish between those categories. I mean, obviously, if they are content creators, I get inspired. So how do they create this attention from their audience? What's their trick? For example, you mentioned Nusrat. He has been able to attract millions of people to his social media pages without talking, right? It's interesting, but he actually caters to an instinct, which is hunger, like food. And it's one of the learnings. So some people are just very smart with PR. You mentioned the Jenners or the Kardashians. I learned how they deal with stories, right? People are intrigued by their way of life. So you can learn a lot from people around you. They don't have to be famous, but if they happen to be successful in attracting attention, then you can get inspired by that. And that's what I do.
Nice. So speaking of Kendall Jenner, maybe you gifted her a Rolls Royce. So what inspired you to do that? Like I saw when I read about this. Can you explain yourself?
No, it's confidential.
Really? Did she react in a specific way when you gave her a Rolls Royce?
I have only seen it the same way you've seen it on social media.
So she hasn't messaged you directly after? Maybe she has.
That's secret.
Okay, we can keep it a secret, no worries. But do you have these sometimes periods where you're like, okay, I want to gift this to someone as a dear friend, but I want to know the intention behind it. Forget Kendall Jenner. Like, what's the intention behind such an act?
Well, most of the charitable work I do is not visible. I don't talk about it. Some of them I do because I want others to get inspired. And for example, last week I published a video where I went and visited medical researchers in the University of Michigan. And they do amazing work for curing rare diseases. Like my sister has a rare form of epilepsy.
Yeah.
And they work on brains in a dish. So you can imagine that they create a human brain in a dish, a certain part of it, and then they make this brain part sick with that disease. And then they compare it to a healthy brain, and then they understand the differences between those two in order to be able to cure it. They do this with cancer, they do this with other types of tumors, but also with rare mutations. And this is something where I want to create attention and awareness, because the more people actually support these types of researches, the closer we get to curing the biggest diseases in the world. So that's what I show. I show the laboratory, I show the real people who do amazing work. I always say if a businessman is successful, he gets rich. But if these guys are successful, they change the world, right? So it's really important to showcase what they are doing. And yeah, you would be surprised. It's very, very expensive to create medicine, like $1 billion to bring one onto the market. And it takes 10 years. But there are these hidden champions of our society that people don't see, right? These are these nerds in the labs, and we are on social media. And I have this channel that I can actually use for good. And then I tell people, look, you should know about these diseases, you should know about these people, and maybe you can support. If it's 1 dirham or 1 million dirham, it doesn't matter as long as you support. Because governments do support, and the biggest investor in the world is the US. They spend around $167 billion in healthcare research just per year. It's the biggest, but still not enough, right? I mean, we spend way more on other stuff, which I believe is less important than humans.
You were recently in the US and I saw a story, I think, was it a story or a post? I forget. But you were complaining about the US, how expensive the pills are just to get a pill. Speaking of the US and medicine.
Well, I wasn't complaining. I was just surprised because I paid like $2,000 for the doctor and the pills. And it was expensive. And I felt for the people who don't have insurance. And there are around 27 million Americans that don't have health insurance. So I don't know how they survive.
That's amazing. We will touch upon the fact of the whole medicine aspect a lot later, which I want to dig deep into. But going back to the celebrity life, let's call it the celebrity, because now, like, if I'm a young person, I'm following Saigin on social media, I'm like, oh wow, he's rich and he's with Kendall Jenner, so it's exciting for me. Are you trying to be a celebrity through these channels? Is this something that you even care about?
I don't know how you define celebrity. I think being popular is a combination of being known and being liked. right? I'd like to be liked, and I'd like to be known, because that helps me with what I'm anyway doing, reaching out to potential customers, right? So yes, if you mean that that's being celebrity, I'd like to be that more, but I don't want to be an entertainer. Like, I'd rather be an edutainer, which basically is, and if you look at if you watch my videos, you'll see they are entertaining, but the core is always teaching you something, I hope, right? Around business.
Yeah.
So this is how I would start a company. This is how I would do X, Y, Z. And I think this combination is something I would like to continue doing.
So speaking of that, what do you hope your videos, like for aspiring entrepreneurs, because you're an entrepreneur, very successful one, as everyone knows. What do you hope, like the young generation, when they watch their videos, what do you hope they can take away from your videos?
Look, there's only depending on the country, between 2 and 15% of a population that is an opportunity-driven entrepreneur, not a necessity-driven entrepreneur, right? And the rest of the population are usually, well, employees. And I'd like to see more entrepreneurship, because it really helps the country's prosperity if you have more businesses, more entrepreneurs, opportunity-driven entrepreneurs, because they create two things. One, they create a company which is a problem solver, because every company solves a problem. If it stops solving a problem, it dies. And when it continues solving a problem, it creates an organization that can feed everybody around it. The employees, the employers, the shareholders, and all stakeholders around it, the suppliers and the customers. So generally, it is an organization that outlives the founder, hopefully, and can create this beautiful, virtuous cycle. Now, some countries have more of it, some of it have less. I love the UAE for being so supportive of entrepreneurs. I think the UAE is a startup. If you look at it, when I came here in 2009 and I started the company, I felt like that's what the UAE always has been doing. Oh, they are flexible, they are fast, they're learning from other markets, they're skipping the mistakes, taking the best and putting it all here. When I look at the leaders of the country where I'm from, I was born and raised in Germany, I see politicians, right? Like most countries have politicians as leaders. In the UAE, I look at them less of politicians, more of entrepreneurs. Like, okay, how can we solve a problem of our customers, which is basically the residents or the citizens? How can we be fast? How can we make it work immediately? So I'm in touch with government entities much more than I would be in Germany. I mean, look, in Germany, we have 700 parliament members almost, right? It's slower. It has its benefits. It also has its disadvantages. In the UAE, I like it that I can say, look, I think it would be better if this would be solved, or if we could digitize it. And you see, there's even a law, I think, in the UAE that forces every government entity to do stuff online, which is amazing. It makes our lives easier. So digitization, less bureaucracy is amazing and for entrepreneurs. So I'd like to see more of that.
So you through your content, you want to encourage people to start up more.
I have a program called Startup Hero, right, where I read a lot of business ideas. I invest into businesses. And I also give two things. Like, you see a lot of mindset online. Like, if you go on social media, everybody's teaching you about mindset. But it's not that you have the right mindset and tomorrow you are successful. There is a craft.
Execution.
Exactly. And that execution, the business craft, is something you have to learn. You learn how to drive a car. The same way as you learn how to build a business. It's not luck. It's something step by step. You have to learn how to analyze numbers, build your business plan, look at your potential market, build a team, get financing, and then have business excellency, which is the business operations part of it. So generally, this is the core of my social media presence. How do I not only motivate you? That's kind of easy. Start. Right? That's a motivation. But then how do you get the craft, the tools to actually make it work? And that's why I wrote a book about it. And
yes. Now, jumping to what this podcast is about. Like the podcast is, as you know, it's called First Million. I want to go back to when Saigin made his first million. Do you remember the moment you saw your bank account? I'm like, I have $1 million in my bank account. How did it feel? What was that moment like? Can you describe it?
So $1 million, because I had a lot of
Yes.
first millions.
So, okay, tell me some of the first millions. Okay,
well-
let's start with $1 million.
So first $1 million net worth was very early, because that's
How early?
pretty much like maybe like a month after I started my business.
Which business is it? The
The
first
fashion business.
The fashion online
yes,
business.
Yes, it was very early. I mean, we were super successful. It took us, if you think about it, Sokar.com, it took Sokar 7 months to make $1 million per month.
Wow.
That's how fast it grew,
Yeah.
right? And then we combined it with Souk.com and it became huge, and later Amazon. So in Sell Any Car, it took 8 weeks to make 1.1 million. So it's basically, it's always been super fast, but I don't talk about all the things that didn't work. And most of the people don't know the things I tried and completely failed in. But yeah, it was very early on. $1 million cash on the account, on my personal account, I don't remember. It's been
So
a long time.
you never stood and stopped for a second and go like, wow, I have $1 million. You never registered that, right? Because it was
Never.
always going, right?
I never cared about that. I don't work for money. I maximize profits, but that's not my target. Like, I don't say, okay, now I made $1 million, that's what I worked for.
So you don't have million milestones at all.
No, not at all. It would be arbitrary.
What about like your website? Did you as a team like go like, oh, we had 1 million cars sold? Did you ever celebrate such a thing or no?
Look, Sell Any Car just turned 10 years last month.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So million cars. We did actually. I don't know when we crossed 1 million cars. It's been a long time. It's big. Look, 60% of any car in this country is in our database.
I remember when you said like it's 3 cars. If you Sheikh Zayed Road 1, 2, 3, that's my car. 1, 2, 3.
Yes.
Is that true?
So it's more now.
Really?
It's 60% now.
So it used to be a third. Oh, sorry, a third
it's
before.
growing, exactly.
Now it's 60%.
60% of the car population of the UAE is in our database, yes.
Amazing.
So people come to sellanycar.com a lot.
Amazing. Speaking like of we'll go back to sellanycar.com, but it's really interesting, the whole idea of the wealth and everything that you have right now, because I've seen a lot of interviews. They call you a billionaire. I don't know if do you like the word billionaire for yourself? You don't mind
Well,
it?
no, because it's nothing in my hand. I always said it, especially in the last 2 years we've seen it, right? When the Federal Reserve increased the interest rates, right? When money was not free anymore. Look at it. In the last 10 years, money was worthless. It was free. Just to make it clear, the price of money is the interest rate. And it was 0. So people just gave away money. They invested it somewhere outside maybe the fixed deposits, which now pay you 5 to 6%, right? So it's basically money is now worth more. And you've seen a huge correction in the stock market. You've seen companies that were worth 65 billion. Within a few months, they were worth 1 billion. So I always say, at the end of the day, my net worth is defined by the buyer, by a transaction. Until then, it's all speculation. Sometimes my net worth jumps like crazy, then it falls again. I don't care. At the end of the day, I focus on making customers happy, and whatever comes out of it, I'm happy with that. Now, I live well, I'm financially free, and that's all I care about now.
Interesting. So do you not track your bank accounts number wise? Like, oh, like this month I have this amount, or do you have? Obviously, you have a financial advisor.
Yes. So obviously, that's my day-to-day job. In my company, I track everything. Right. That is clear. Personally, I also have financial advisors. Yes, I do. But it's nothing that I really focus on, and unless really I have to make a big investment or I need to take a snapshot. But no, it's not on my personal side, I don't track it that much.
Interesting. So regarding like how you allocate your wealth, because I know I read that you like to like you mentioned earlier, you like to invest or put your money in medical research due to your sister's condition, the epilepsy, as you mentioned, which she's been treated now for how many years now she's been treated?
So, I mean, she has stopped having seizures.
So
now,
not cured, but treated.
Yeah. So there's 3 steps. So when she was born, I was 8 years old and I saw her having her first seizure. So she was blue in her face and she was shaking and I didn't know what it was. She used to have 100 of small seizures every day, right? These are like small fainting spells. And then you would have certain seizures that make you shake. You can have that once a day or twice. That's very bad. And it took 22 years until I figured out, with the help of professors and researchers, what she actually has. Because epilepsy has hundreds of different types. So we figured that out.
Was it discovered before? It's a condition that was discovered before and they just knew what it is, or it's a new one?
No, it was discovered around 40 years ago.
Wow, okay.
But it wasn't diagnosed for her.
Correct.
And many of the epilepsy patients we have in the world, they don't have the right diagnosis and hence the wrong treatment. So after that, which took me around 1.5 years, we got her the right medication and she became seizure free. That's been now 7-8 years.
Amazing.
That's the first step, seizure freedom. The second step is the side effects of the wrong medication is gone, right? She literally had her bones melt of wrong medication. Now she has the right medication. And the third step is her cognitive skills. So she's 31 years old, but mentally she's maybe 6, right? So that's what I'm still working on. How can we get her to become an adult? That's
Why is this so important to you?
That's my life goal. It's my little sister.
But she's 31 and you were 39. So when you grew up, were you close growing up together?
Yes, every day. I mean, yes.
Because some families, I see some families, their siblings, they're not so attached to their sibling, let's say. But it seems like you actually do care about her a lot. And is she your only sibling?
Yes.
And does it make you emotional when you think about her?
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's what I work for.
Is it your life goal to make sure your sister lives a great life?
Yes, and I think that's what she already does. I think it's a blessing in disguise that she doesn't know what she's missing out on. So, yeah.
I love the way you speak about her in your videos, and I'm sorry for bringing this up. I hope
no, it's fine
because it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I find it beautiful, and I have 6 sisters, by the way.
Oh,
so it's beautiful that you actually care about this so much, and the philanthropy you're doing, it's great. And where do you see your money? Like, how much can your money, do you think it can play a role in fixing like such a problem?
I think it's a drop in the ocean. You don't know how much money you need. I always said anything is better than nothing, right? So I help, for example, I buy a laboratory. That helps a researcher to start. You need to think about this like people who have, like inventors. Somebody who invented the light bulb, he was also in the lab, he was trying out stuff, right? But Fleming, when he discovered penicillin, was also doing something. It was kind of an accident, he figured it out. And there are many researchers like these. They say, hey, I have an idea, maybe we should test it out. And this test, for example, when I went to the lab, sometimes, it costs $1 million a year, right? Think about it. You have the medical equipment, like the laboratory equipment, but sometimes, as sad as it sounds, you also need to test it on animals. Like, for example, on fish, there's a test on zebrafish. They're so small, you can give epilepsy to zebrafish.
What?
And then they start having seizures. and you see how they behave. And they do it with different types of animals, so we can cure humans. That's expensive, right? So it's still a drop in the ocean. I have invested into a company that has raised $800 million to cure cancer, and it's been now almost 10 years, and they're still working on it. So think about how much this can cost and how much one person can contribute. I am a drop in the ocean, but I think there are many, many good people in the world, especially because this is one of the three systems that we need. So we have the for-profit capitalism, we have non-profit, right? What we are doing now is
the philanthropy
is non-profit because it's not lucrative. It's too small to make money, right? But we still need it. Like otherwise, we would never cure rare diseases because it's not making money. Even if you have the cure, it's not making money. Every 1 in 16,000 children have the syndrome, the Dravet syndrome my sister has. I mean, you're not going to spend billions to cure that if you want to make money. And the third system is government, which we also need. So all of these systems have to work together.
Speaking about your philosophy, and we touched upon your sister and her condition, and I'm wondering now, like, does your sister know you're doing all of this? Like, does she know you're trying to
At least I write her an email every time. She's in CC, but she can't read. Maybe one day.
But you said 6-year-old, so 6-year-old would be like.
She can't read, all right.
Wow, that's crazy. I hope she gets treated.
Thank you.
And does well. And like you said, like your goal is to make her from 6-year-old to how many years?
To what she is. I mean, to
30
adult. Yeah.
Inshallah, that happens. Now I read, and I was surprised to hear this. You live in a small apartment, a 60 square feet meters feet apartment, and your net worth is big. What is your philosophy behind living in such a small place? Why not have a mansion?
I used to have.
And you sold it?
Yeah, I don't need it.
Okay.
I feel happy. I mean, look, think about when you spend money, who you're spending it for. If you're spending it on status, then it's not for me. I don't need to prove anything to anybody. I feel comfortable there, and I don't need more space. You know, some people say, maybe you can confirm it, because I can, the less you have, it feels like the less burden you have on you. I get rid of clutter. I basically, for a year, I didn't have any house. I lived in hotels in Dubai.
Really?
I spent 2 months in the office this year, just sleeping there. I don't need that. If I needed it, I would buy it, but I feel comfortable.
So it doesn't make you feel good to have a big place, a big pool, let's say, and just like a lot of people surrounded. Like that's not something you care about?
Definitely not being subscribed to that lifestyle. If I need it, I do sometimes go to hotels where I have a pool. But why would I have it on flat rate?
Elon Musk, I heard as well, also doesn't live in a big house, and sometimes he sleeps in this office. So do you think like successful people have this kind of mindset where they're so consumed by work that this life that maybe people who haven't achieved it, they're not chasing that life, they're chasing something else? Do you subscribe to that, or do you feel the same way?
You know, I was different before. I had $1 million car. I had a big house. I wore different clothes every day.
Like
now
what?
I look the same every day. It's not the same clothes, by the way. I have.
You wash them?
Yeah, I wash them, and I have the same looking ones. But I don't think that's what made me happy. I tried both, right? I don't say that successful people work and live like me. No, it's just one way of looking at life.
So right now you say you live life on demand, like you buy something on demand and then you sell it if you don't need it. So are you a minimalist? Like, do you consider yourself a minimalist?
I've heard of that term. It sounds like me. Yeah. But I do live on demand, which means if I need a luxurious moment with friends, I get it at that time. So for example, I get a big penthouse or big suite or nice restaurant. That's on demand. But I don't have a subscription to that lifestyle. I don't have any subscriptions for that matter. unless I have to. I think my phone bill is one of my only subscriptions.
Saygin Yalsin, after inshallah a long life, when you die, where do you want your money to go?
Oh, I know where it goes.
Really?
It's already in the foundation. It goes to my sister as much as she needs. Obviously, she can't manage it, so she would spend $1 million on a bubble gum. She wouldn't know the difference. So it was gonna be managed, but she doesn't need all of that. So the rest is gonna go to two things, like I do today already: medical research and other entrepreneurs. I think it's important to become a social lift. A social lift I also had. There were people around me that lifted me up. They invested into me. They taught me about business. They taught me about life. This could be a businessman, an investor. This could also be your family, your father, your mother, your siblings. They can also be a social lift for you. People who definitely bring you closer to where you want to be or where you should be. So that's important. I think there's a Jewish saying that says, if you stop working, you are selfish, which basically is true. So I could stop working and then just, chill. But it sounds selfish. I think there are people around that also need the social lift that I had. And so I do this with education, edutainment, as I call it. I also have planned out everything. I think...
you have your will written, everything is ready?
It's not only a will, it's a whole charter.
What?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Elaborate.
Because, it's a bit technical, but a will cannot be too complicated.
Okay.
But a foundation can have a charter, which is its own persona, its own entity. And you can have a lot of rules around it, which makes it a bit more solid for whatever happens.
Who will you trust? Do you have someone now that you trust will take this mission forward and make sure that all of this happens?
Yeah, there are definitely entities. So there are lawyers, there are people who hopefully are still alive.
By then, inshallah, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a sad topic, but you have to be prepared. I fly a lot, I drive a lot, so Nasib, you don't know.
No, like I said, inshallah, after a long life. I read this book a while back. It's by Robin Sharma, I think. Who Will Cry When You Die? So it made me think it made me think about death, and that's why I think talking about death, sometimes people are scared about it. But okay, like asking yourself that question: who will cry when Saygin dies or when Isa dies? So let me ask you that question, Saygin: who will cry when you die?
I think my family. I don't know why they would cry. I know why my family would cry, but there's a lot of people, probably they would cry because I add value to their lives. Hopefully. I know there are people who would be sad, but truly care. I think it's a few people.
So you don't think a lot of people will cry when you die?
I don't know. I think most people overestimate their lives' role in other people's lives. People will be sad. Some people would be, thinking about it for a minute or two. But the harsh reality is nobody cares. Almost nobody cares.
Does that bother you, or?
Oh, it's just, I'm a realist. I know there's a lot of sadness, a lot of trauma, a lot of tragedy in the world, right? I think everybody, if you just dig a little deeper, has some kind of tragedy in their life. And sometimes we care for a moment, but truly care, I think it's just a very few instances where your life gets affected. We have wars, we have famine in the world. We don't truly care. We say sometimes that is sad and that we would love to help, but only very, very few people truly care. If we truly cared, then the world would look totally different. And I'm a realist around that. For example, a tragedy happened in Turkey this year. I truly cared. It was a huge earthquake with thousands of people dead. I truly cared because my family was there.
Your origins are from Turkey.
My cousins are there. They are there. My grandmother is there in that city. That's when I truly cared. But was that the only tragedy in this year, or was this the only time I should have cared? No. And this is how it is. I mean, we know there are a lot of people and animals, for that matter, in a horrible situation as we speak. We don't like it, but we don't truly care unless we are really affected ourselves. And that's why I'm a realist around that. I know some people will be sad, but I know there will be only a few that truly care when I'm gone, personally. But maybe some people who have benefited from my life will truly care because the benefits will disappear.
Saigin, taking it back to your origins, and you mentioned Turkey just now and what happened earlier this year, the catastrophe that happened. My question is, do you feel attached to your origins? I know you're from Turkey, but you grew up in Germany. Do you feel attached to Turkey?
Of course. I mean, my origins, my ancestors are from Turkey. I feel biologically Turkish, legally German, geographically Emirati. So it's really something which makes me my own version of identity, right? So I was born and raised in Germany, so I know really well how Germans think, and I have a German culture in me as well. But I also have the Turkish heritage and Turkish culture and language in me as well. But I also have now loved the Emirati culture. I've been here for 14 years, right? So it creates this certain type of identity that maybe is very rare, right? German, Emirati, Turkish. But also I am traveling a lot, so maybe a bit of global as well. But I do have a lot of connections with Turkey, obviously. And I love Turkish culture, Turkish food. Everybody loves Turkish food.
Yeah, of course. I love Turkish food too. It's amazing. So take me back to like the what happened. I know like it was a really like sensitive topic, but what happened with Turkey, and I know Syria as well, and now even like recently with Libya and if I'm mistaken, Morocco, exactly. So all these things happening. When such a thing happens, take me back to the moment when you heard the news. You just said you cared, you truly cared. What did you do? Like, what was your impulse reaction? Because that's your Turkey, that's your origin.
I called my family that lives there. I said, "Are you okay?" And they said, "Yeah, we just left in time. We left the buildings, and we're now staying in a warehouse." That's what they told me. And they also said what they need. They also said what the situation is, and that I should communicate it with people who are not from there. So there are certain things which I wanted to communicate. So for example, people tried to help, and they sent trucks from different countries, but the trucks would arrive in a week or 10 days, which is well meant, but it's too late. Right? So it would be better to help people from Turkey, for them to buy groceries in a close by city and then drive it from there instead of sending trucks from 4 countries away. Because we knew within 10 to 14 days, the government will have everything supplied. But the people on the ground were the fastest to help. So it was best to help the people on the ground. And don't drive there to take pictures for social media. It's not necessary. All of those things. Or people who were in need, don't take everything. Just take whatever you need, but then leave something for others. Because I know that the trucks we supplied were being attacked by people in need, saying, "Give me more, my family." I understand, but obviously there needs to be some rationing. So all of this basically went through my head, and I communicated it, and I also, helped as much as I can.
Communicated it to who exactly?
I posted it on my social media channel, and I said, this is the real situation in Turkey, the day or one day after. So people who were thinking about helping could help the right way, right? And always in tragedy, there's also people who abuse the situation and act like they are from a charitable organization and collect money. So I told them where to go. Like, for example, go and help through the embassies, right?
Trusted places.
I mean, the embassy should be trusted.
Yeah.
And then also, if you know people on the ground, help them directly. Don't go through dubious organizations.
Do you feel like as a business owner and as a business, let's sell any car, for example, do you feel like every business has a role to play, especially because it's from your origins? Do you feel like you have a role to play when it comes to such things? Because you can easily turn a blind eye, like, oh, let's pray for Turkey, hashtag pray for Turkey, and maybe make a post about it on Instagram. But what's your philosophy? Like, do you feel like, no, there needs to be a proactive thing happening?
Look, I'm a realist, so hashtags don't help anybody under the rubbles, right? What helps is, as I explained, if you truly care. Now, companies are mandated, or they have to maximize profits.
That's their goal.
This is by law, the fiduciary duty of the management to maximize shareholder value. Now, there's going to be some pressure to temporarily deviate from that if it's in the interest of the long-term profits. What I mean with that is corporate social responsibility, charitable donations. A big topic is climate change.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We had, in 2009, there was a hype for climate change, where suddenly everybody was talking about climate change until COVID took over and people kind of talked less about it. It doesn't mean the problem went away. And it doesn't mean that suddenly capitalistic thinking managers said, oh, I don't care, let me just produce for more expensive, and but because it's better for climate. That's not going to happen. That's not even allowed for the manager to do long term. Obviously, for a PR stunt, you can say we're now producing more climate neutrally. What we need to do as a company is always keep on innovating. And innovation is the solution for the climate problem we have. Because if a government mandates a new law for every company in a country, then that's fair game. Then there's no advantage or disadvantage because of climate. But even companies are in countries are in competition with other countries. So one country will not say all my companies will have higher costs, and then my competing country has companies that have lower costs. Then these companies will move. So having said that, keep on innovating, be agile, and then you will create products that are environmentally friendly and cheaper. Mm-hmm. So invest into research and development. And that's what the solution to anything which might even be responsible for the environment and better for the environment. But no manager, no company will long term just say, we'll make less profits because it's better for the climate. It's not going to happen, because that just basically means I will die and somebody else will take over. That's how capitalism works. And capitalism, that's why capitalism needs moral boundaries. Capitalism needs a guidance from governments to actually be controlled. Uncontrolled capitalism is worthless.
Such as, like, what do you mean uncontrolled? Like, how bad can it get?
Capitalism fails in many situations.
Such as?
Cartels is a great example. Or planned obsolescence even. Give you an example. If a light bulb could work for 100 years, then it would be bad for the light bulb producers.
Yeah, I've seen a video about this, yeah.
that's planned obsolescence. So they say, you know what, we're going to create light bulbs that don't work forever.
Even though they can.
Yes. So capitalistically speaking, you would basically just collude. And that's where you can create cartels, or when you have oligopolies, which basically means there's only a few suppliers of a product. Then they could be collusion, and they can create products of inferior quality. They plan its obsolescence, so then the consumers have to buy it again. Right? You might have seen it with your phone. Sometimes they suddenly work
with the
worse.
new iOS update.
They suddenly work less slower or something because there's a new one out. I mean, you have to be careful with that, because that's where the government steps in and says, no, this is not in the interest of the consumers. Journalism fails sometimes, because journalism, if it's based purely on capitalistic mechanisms, they will maximize for ad revenue. They will maximize for clicks. So then clickbait journalism becomes huge, right? Sensationalism becomes huge. So again, you need boundaries. And there's many examples where capitalism cannot just work in an uncontrolled manner. But it should not be over-regulated, because then it hampers entrepreneurship.
Interesting. Now let's dive deep into your business, the business, sellanycar.com. Now it is an estimated worth $500 million, how much it's worth now. And is it or is it not? Because sometimes you say I don't know. Sometimes
I really don't know, but I think it's worth more.
You think it's worth more? Okay, let's speak about competition. So sellanycar.com, your baby, let's say, the one you started how many years ago?
10 years ago.
10 years ago. Very successful, mashallah. Who is sellanycars.com's competition? Is there a competition?
Of course. I mean, anybody who buys cars could be considered as competition. But at the same time, we never focus on competition. We only focus on the customers. So
you don't at all?
Not at all.
You never have a business meeting, hey, let's try to beat the sales of this company or this company?
Not at all. We don't even know other people's sales. We don't care. I think what's really important is that the customers we have, we serve them in the best way possible. And we've been copied a lot. That's fine. I think it's great flattery to be copied. That basically means our ideas are valuable. We test a lot, right? So we basically try out new things and then take the best ideas and keep on moving. Sell Any Car last year is different than Sell Any Car this year. And we have different brands. We have sellanycar.com, we have buyanycar.com, we have CarNav, we have Kayisha in Saudi Arabia. So these are all different, ideas we had at one point of time. Now we kind of bring them all together. So competition, whoever focuses on competition will never be the leader.
Really? You believe that?
Yes, I only focus on customers.
Customers. So the number one. And so you've never been inspired by a competitor like, oh, that's a nice idea. Let me try to do something similar.
I look at peers. I meet with peers. I was in the US just now to look at how they do online car trade. And we exchange ideas. That's totally normal. And that's also something you should do to kind of get inspired. Even the core business model we had back then with Sell Any Car was a copy. It existed before, right? We were not the first ones to buy cars within 30 minutes, right? We then said, okay, this is a great starting point. And then we became innovative within the business model and became our own original version, which now I believe is world class, the way we buy and sell cars. We have 55,000 dealers registered in our platform that are buying and competing for your car when you drive in any of our locations. That is something we have invented. We have invented live auctions, right? Which is, we didn't invent auctions. We invented the process of buying and selling cars at the same moment from consumer to dealers within 15 minutes. This is something that has been invented in Dubai, so we can be proud of it.
Beautiful. Speaking of the success and the growth of sellanycar.com, why do you think it's not a unicorn yet?
I think it is.
But people say it's $500 million, so...
People say a lot.
So you think it is a unicorn?
I think it's something you can definitely debate. And as I said, at the end of the day, the buyers will decide. For example, in our previous company where I was vice president and president of Sukkar and vice president of Souk, we were a unicorn, but then we sold for less.
Why?
Because at the end of the day, the buyer decides, and Amazon decided, right? So, as I said, I don't focus on that until it actually happens, and does it really make a huge difference in my life or in the employees' lives? At the end of the day, this transaction makes a lot of people rich, made a lot of people rich, and also it was one of the best things we could have done for the consumers in the region. I think Amazon is one of the best operators in the world when it comes to e-commerce, probably the best one. Mm-hmm. I also think it was great for future entrepreneurs. It opened doors. A lot of investors were looking into the region now, suddenly said, oh, you can have quality deals in this part of the world. When I came in 2009, it was harder to raise money, right? So I think that is the whole package of what actually a transaction can bring or an exit can bring. It's not only if you made $500 million or $1 billion. I think it doesn't change that much. And I think it's all speculation until it happens.
So until it happens, when do you think it will happen officially? And people will say, sellanycar.com is now a unicorn.
I think I don't... Look, as a founder, it's like saying, when are you trying to sell your baby? As a father, I don't like to sell my children.
You can look at it differently.
But sometimes, you know what, in business, everything is for sale, right? So, but I don't like to talk about exits, but generally, it could happen whenever there is... First of all, I think this climate now is not a good climate to do big transactions. We'll wait a few years.
What do you mean?
Now, I think we're going through a correction in the market.
Online business market?
Generally, the stock markets have been going through a correction. And I think now everybody says it's temporary. Obviously, it's temporary, but nobody tells you how long this correction will go for. It feels like it's going to be there for another year or year and a half.
So you're playing it safe now, you think?
Actually, that's one of the open secrets. A lot of tech companies, actually almost every tech company I talk to, they have refocused their priorities. It was always top line, revenue, GMV, all those top line metrics. Now it's all bottom line, profits, EBITDA, EBIT. So the KPIs changed priority. Mm-hmm. So yes, it's all about cash conservation. It's all about making money. It's less about hyper growth.
Interesting. Wow. So speaking of the business, I know a lot of business, you mentioned Amazon and many other businesses, they go through sometimes negative customer experiences, like lawsuit happens or controversy happens. Can you share with us a story, if you can? I would really appreciate if you can. A story that happened with you personally, like a negative or some kind of controversy with sellanycar.com, and how did you respond and fix that problem?
It happens all the time. I think any big business has bad and positive reviews. If I see a company that claims to be big and doesn't have negative reviews, I would...
Something's up.
Yeah, it's not a big company. It's just impossible to kind of keep everybody happy. It's the way you deal with it, as you said, right? So, well, I have to think about it. So many funny stories that happen. Negatives. I mean, it happens all the time. So some people... I have a story. It was actually... I think it was funny. So I remember it's very early on, probably almost 10 years ago, we bought a car from a lady in Dubai. And then, well, that's how it works. We buy it and then we sell it, right? And she came back to us and crying and said, I love my car. She was emotionally attached to the car, right? And she was crying and said, I know I can't sell my baby. Now, legally speaking, the car is sold.
It's sold.
It's gone, right? So title transfer has been done. The buyer has already paid. Everything is done. Now, what do you do?
Who was she complaining to exactly?
she came to us because she sold her car to us. And then next day she said, I can't sell it. I'm crying. God. So what do you do in this situation?
What did you do? I don't know.
We obviously went back to the buyer and said, look, the seller is crying.
Really? You did that?
Yes, yeah. He said, seller is crying. And he's like, what do you mean crying?
I bought the car. I paid money for this.
He said, no, we have to get it back. So we kind of rolled back the whole transaction and gave back the car, and she hugged the car.
You're kidding?
Yes. Some people are... Look, I must admit, I also cried when I sold my car.
Which, your first car?
My first car I fell in love with. I didn't cry when I sold it. You know when I cried?
When?
But I cried internally, not with tears. I saw it in Al-Quds and in front of a warehouse being repaired. And I recognized it because it had a scratch in one place. I was like, man, what happened to you?
Where did you go?
What happened? I understand people getting emotional around their car. So I understand the lady. So she actually probably felt like she's giving away part of her family.
So you brought her back the car?
Yeah, we brought it back. But we lost money, obviously. But yeah.
So you go through...
We bought it back.
You bought it back?
We bought it back. Yeah, because the buyer paid. He said, I'm not going to give it back to you like that. We bought it back.
So you lost money just to please this one customer?
Yes, it happens.
You've done this a lot?
I only remember one lady crying, but I don't get everything, but yes, that was a story which I remember.
Thank you for saying that. Well,
Sure.
That's very interesting. Yeah, and I agree with you. Like even my first car, it's like the attachment is emotional on a deep level.
Yes.
And like you said, you can understand. Now let's rewind back the years. You came here to Dubai, as you say, with a backpack and an idea for a fashion online store, and the first one in the Middle East. Like, if you can remember those early days, what is one of the biggest or the biggest obstacle you had to face as a 18-year-old?
24.
24-year-old? What is the biggest obstacle?
If I have to summarize... if I have to choose one, it's thinking that I was a good CEO, but I wasn't. I was just a very motivated young guy, but I wasn't good. And that led to a lot of problems. Hiring the wrong people. That later became competition. And hiring too fast, firing too slow. Not having full control of your numbers, trusting too early.
You're young.
Yes, just running against the wall. Not caring about your own health, not sleeping, not eating well. All of those things that kind of comes with inexperience and with this fire in your eyes. I remember, I had $500,000 in salaries I had to pay every month. $500,000. Plus marketing expenses, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And in the middle of the month, I had $79,000 on the bank.
What?
So, yeah, and I was like, okay, I think I need money. So I called investors. I said, can you send money? They're like, what do you mean? I need it in 2 weeks. Like, you're not getting millions of dollars within 2 weeks. I was naive. So I called my entrepreneur friends that were more seasoned here in Dubai. And he said, yeah, in Dubai as an entrepreneur, you are with one leg on the beach and with one leg in jail.
What does that mean?
That means back then we didn't have that much bankruptcy protection. By the way, even bankruptcy protection in that situation wouldn't have saved me because I was too naive and thinking, we were growing super fast. So how this situation happened is, just to give you a bit of background, we were selling a lot. We were making millions in revenue, but we were collecting our money too slow. Back then we had cash on delivery. So it takes 6 to 8 weeks to get all the money from the customers because you sent it, then they collect it, the logistics provider then brings it to us, we deposited it. So the money was coming, but it was not in our bank account. So in technical terms, it means planning your working capital, right? So having said that, I said, all right, so what do? I have to get money. So we sat with the team and we actually realized, okay, we have one chance. We have to create the largest offline fashion campaign in Dubai. So we rented out the World Trade Center and put millions of dollars worth of fashion items into a hall, a big hall, and said, look, send an SMS to all the customers back then it's SMS, and said, look, 48-hour flash sale, up to 90% discount, but you have to come and pay on the spot. And there were I think, if I'm not mistaken, 2,000 people in line waiting sometimes for 6 hours to get in.
Wow.
It was huge, a huge sale, but we made $2 million.
And that's one day.
Yes. And that's how we got the cash.
Wow.
And then I came back to Dubai because I was already...
Really? You were trying to run away already?
No, I wasn't running away. I was watching from far.
Okay, I'm not sure about that, but that's so interesting. Do you think has a campaign like that ever happened again?
No. So that was one of the, you told me, like, what did I learn? I think this is one of the biggest learnings I had. No surprises in cash, right? And I was thinking a good CEO is just building a big business. No, it's managing the whole business, because at the end of the day, you need to understand your numbers. So I learned it the hard way.
Wow, that's a journey. That must have been like that month must have been a roller coaster.
Yes.
Now going back to the years and like hearing like they used to be a DJ, a footballer when you were a kid, and let's assume that you were a successful footballer and a DJ. How would your life be like today? Like, because I know you left it because you were failing in that. So you're like, okay, let me become a businessman.
So first of all, when I was maybe 17, 18, that's when I tried to be a football player. But I think it's very unlikely to become a professional football player, even though I played in the A Junior Bundesliga, which is the highest league for under 19-year-olds. But even then, to become a professional football player in Germany, it's super difficult. And that's why I have super utmost respect for people who made it in football. It's very, very difficult, especially because every boy wants to be a footballer, right? So competition is super high. I realized that the statistics speak against me, right? So I stopped that.
But let's assume it wasn't against you. Let's assume it worked out.
It worked out.
Yes, that's what I want to know.
I would love to know also.
Would your life be different, do you think, if you were a successful football player?
I think so. I think I probably would have made less money.
Really?
Yeah.
Of course.
Sure. Unless I was like Ronaldo or Messi, but come on. Yeah. Let's say I was one of the top 1,000 players, which is still okay, but it wouldn't make you super rich.
Well, would you be happier, you think?
It's hard to say. My life goal was to play football when I was a teenager, so I would be very happy. But you need to be realistic. Like, you have a good 10 years and a maximum of maybe 15, 17 years of being a professional football player, right? And then, after that, and in this period, you have to finance your entire life pretty much, right? True. Most of them don't, right? I know some ex-pro football players, they need money now because they spent it all or misinvested it. So the money you earn there is for your whole life. Some people obviously get jobs as coaches or scouts afterwards, but it's much less money usually. There's always exceptions. So I think I would have made less money, but I would have brilliant 5 years, I think.
Enjoying your life to the maximum.
Yeah, look, it's also good for your body, right? You always are healthy, always being checked out.
True.
Which I obviously had not as an entrepreneur. In my first 5 to 10 years, I was like really yeah, it was detrimental for my health.
You were out of shape? Like, were you?
Yes, out of shape. Well, I was unhealthy. I was almost dying pretty much. The doctors told me I would go through a burnout and have a heart attack or a stroke if I do not stop working. And I was continuously working, which I still do, by the way, but I still now have at least health conscious. So I know what I'm eating. I know the difference between proteins and carbs and fats and all of those things, which I really didn't care about. I was just eating whenever I was hungry. At 11 p.m., 2 pizzas, wouldn't mind, and workouts were less. So that is something I would have not had if I was a pro football player.
Interesting. Now let's bring it back to the UAE. Years later, you see the success of Sell Any Car. You're a successful entrepreneur now. You're still in that business. Like you said, you're still working every single day. I want to ask you about a question. His Highness Sheikh Saif bin Zayed showed a video of you at the World Government Summit in 2018 as a success story.
Yes.
How did that make you feel to see the UAE leadership recognizing you after everything that you came from? How did that feel?
That's very rewarding. But the backstory is funny because I didn't know. So what happened is I got a message back then, I think it was from the police. It said, we want to come to your office to create a video. I said, okay, for what? They said, yeah, we want to motivate our academy police guys to become entrepreneurs. I said, really? I said, okay, fine, we'll do that. And we recorded the video and they didn't tell me anything. That's it. And then a few months later, I got a call. They say, hey, can you come to Madinat Jumeirah, to the World Government Summit? I said, okay. So I drove there and then they parked me right in front of the entrance. And then they took me to the first row. I was sitting next to the rulers and everybody. First row. I said, man, what did I say?
You're either in trouble or either something is really good.
First row doesn't sound like trouble, but
yeah, exactly.
I was sitting there. So, and then I still didn't know. And then Sheikh Saif Zayed came and he just talked about our company and showed the video. I said, that's the police academy video. And it was obviously not for the police, but that's what I thought. And then, yeah, it was really, really a nice surprise. I loved it.
How did that make you feel? Like,
it feels like somebody saw your hard work. It feels rewarding. It feels like, the government appreciates what we're doing. And, that motivates you to do more. And obviously not only me, the entire team was happy. And it's kind of a good government approval to have.
So how does that make you reflect now? Like the fact that UAE leadership recognized you, Saيغين, and your business and the work you're putting in. Does that in any way like now influence how you view your work in Dubai and UAE? Like, do you feel like you have a bigger responsibility now than you did before?
It definitely boosts it. So I know that we are part of a society that, and we're part of one common goal. I love the vision the government has. And it is like you are at least an appreciated and recognized piece to the puzzle, right? So it makes you less selfish. It also makes you think about the country you live in, not only the company you're pushing, right? So what can we do to push this country that is so welcoming? Think about it. It's always mind-blowing, right? Because I came from a country that has a lot of immigrants, obviously, Germany. But the UAE is like 90% foreigners. It's such a mind-blowing fact that almost everybody is not from here. And still we make it work, right? Like every nationality is kind of represented in the UAE. And to make this melting pot work is, it's a masterpiece. Now, I also say Dubai and the UAE gives you an impression from outside. If you look at it from a German's perspective, right? You would say, oh, Dubai is this luxurious place. Abu Dhabi is so rich. They think about oil money. They think about tourism. But if you think about UAE's income is maybe less than 1% is oil, right? There is a misconception. So you come here and then you expect something from the city, let's say from Dubai. What can Dubai offer me? Oh, I can go to the beach, I can do the desert, I can do anything. We have 100 malls. We have everything you want 24/7. But when you come to this city, are you also asking yourself, what am I bringing to the table? Because the people who stay here, they answer this question. They say, I add this to the city, right? So my tip is always come to this country that welcomes you, but answer the question, what am I bringing with me? Am I just bringing demands? Then Dubai will take all your money, right? It's great. Invest it into real estate, spend it on tourism. But if you want to make this your home and build your legacy, then answer the question, what are you bringing to us? And this is something the government is doing in an amazing way. They basically give you this horizon, right? They say, look, make it your legacy. But what are you bringing? Don't just expect the country to take care of you.
Amazing. So from what I see it and how you view it, that's a great insight that you just shared. I was going to ask you, because you probably answered my question. I was going to ask you, like, what advice would you give young entrepreneurs who are from Germany, who are from Turkey, from other European countries? They want to move to Dubai today. You just answered my question. But is there an action plan for them? Okay, I'm moving to Dubai tomorrow. What is the action plan? What would you tell them? 3-point pieces of advice.
Well, I do this all the time because I so-called import people to Dubai, right? I say, come and join us in our team. So the first question you have to ask yourself is, you want to build your own company or you want to work and join a company, right? Make sure you go through the right channels, that you join a reputable company, that you go through the right process. Don't come here and work as a tourist for years on a tourist visa or without visas. It's important that you go with the right process, right? And then you will see how much the government protects you. And I'm talking because I hear a lot of rumors from outside. Oh, in Dubai, people get exploited. That's not true. You can't get exploited because there's a system, right? Can you do anything without your Emirates ID? Your Emirates ID is linked to your visa process. The visa process is actually linked to your wage protection system. If I pay my employees 1 day late, I get an SMS saying, don't do this again. So go through the right channels. This is my advice, right? Don't fall into certain traps that abuse the situation. And then also, as I said, add value to the city. And talk to the entities, ask questions. Every government entity is open to answer questions, digitally even. If you don't know, ask. Don't assume, don't listen to people who might not know themselves. And there's no limit. You can actually do anything you want. There's only 2 boundaries in our company, but also generally in the country. There's legal boundaries and ethical boundaries. Don't cross those 2 and you'll be fine.
Amazing message. Now let's delve deep into the future. Now, looking back from your early days to now accumulating this wealth, what is your biggest takeaway from this whole journey that you've spent now, 39 years of life? What's your biggest takeaway?
Wow. I think the most rewarding characteristics I have built was to make sure that I keep my promises. I think that is so underrated. If I promise something, I'll do it. But I promise less. But if you are known to be a person that keeps his or her promises, then people will put more value to your words. And your words become currency. So you talk less, but when you talk, people take you seriously. Oh, he promised it, he will do it. So that is something which, as a young teenager or as a young guy when I came here, it was something I had to learn, right? later on, actually 10 years later, when I met one of the first investors I worked with, I said, man, why did you believe in me? And he said, I didn't.
It was a gamble?
No, I didn't. But he said, you were doing the things rather than talking about it, right? And sometimes I was doing too much. As I said, I was just running. And sometimes there's a wall, I was still running. So I removed the naivety now, and I kept the doing part. And I think one of the 6 success factors an entrepreneur has is an action bias, which basically means less talking, more doing, less preparation and more doing, more execution. If you look into your life, most of us prepare 90% of our times, symbolically speaking, for something. You are a baby to be prepared to be able to walk. When you are in school, you prepare for university. When you're in university, you prepare to actually get a good job. When you're in that job, you prepare to get to a higher level, sometimes a department head. But what are you actually doing? And I say an entrepreneur switches that. He says he does more than just preparing. Don't prepare, just get it done. Let's start on Monday. That is the action bias, I think, which in combination with keeping the promises, I will deliver $1 million in sales this year. That's a promise, right? You deliver 1.1, you're a super success. Now, you're saying, I'm going to deliver $1.5 million this year. You deliver 1.4, you're a failure. But you delivered more than your first promise, you're a failure. So be careful of what you promise.
Amazing. Sa이긴, any regrets in life?
No. Only learnings.
Not a single regret?
I did a lot of things I would have done differently today. But no, there's no point in trying to fix the past. And regrets is a try to fix the past. If you look at it as a learning, then you actually look forward to the future. There's so many companies I would have loved to invest into early on. I didn't. So is that the last opportunity I had? I make sure that I look forward to the next one. I don't go negative to the past. I go forward positively.
Sa이긴, you're not married. Are you planning to get married soon?
Whatever nasib, whatever comes.
You're not thinking about it?
One of the things I'm not good in is basically my personal life. I'm not an expert in my personal life. I think I have to learn a lot in that section. But look, I'm not planning it. I don't think it's something I want to plan. If it happens, it happens. So whatever makes us happy.
So you're not thinking about settling down, having a family of your own, maybe having a son?
I do want to have a lot of children. Maybe it happens.
Interesting.
I know how to do it, but that's
interesting. Yeah, because I'm surprised you're not married yet. Most entrepreneurs who are successful are married.
I used to be married for a short stint.
For a short period.
Short period, yes.
And then now you changed your opinion about marriage?
I wouldn't say I've changed my opinion around marriage. I just don't have an urgency again. But, not everything in life should be planned or can be planned.
Great answer. Now, finally, I want to ask you one simple question to leave it up to the future. I want your expertise. For your expertise, give me 5 or let's say 3 predictions of what will happen in the online business industry in the next 5 years. So give me 3 predictions. What should we expect? You're in the field.
Yeah.
You're the expert. Tell me.
So there's going to be tools that will come up and go through a hype cycle. For example, we had the Internet of Things. Remember, internet-enabled devices. They went through a hype, then they went through a new plateau. So there's always this graph which goes super hype, then a bit down, new plateau. We had the metaverse, we had the blockchains, we have the cryptocurrencies, the NFTs, we have artificial intelligence that goes through the hype cycle. And you'll always see the same development. New tools coming in, going through a hype, and then plateauing out to a new level. Now, what I always look at is there's always going to be tools. How can you use these tools to solve a problem for a potential customer? So will augmented reality or virtual reality be a part of our future life? Might be, but it's not the first time that we had glasses that actually show you and combine the reality with augmented reality pretty much. Digital world and physical world melting. We did not adapt it massively because we were not solving a problem. People will only use something if they love the product or service more than their money. It's very simple. Create something that people love more than their money. So, until then, there's going to be tools. Use these tools and create something that people want. Now, I believe cars will be sold online to consumers in the next 5 to 10 years without viewing, 10 days returns, free returns, no questions asked. What Carnab is doing today. Only 1% of cars today are sold online. That
Only
will be
1%.
Only 1%. It will be 50% in the next 5 to 10 years.
Wow.
So that's one of my predictions. That's why we have created all the muscles required for that. Right? So why didn't we do it 5 years earlier? Because Sell Any Car now has the largest fleet for logistics, right? We have the biggest sourcing channel. Most people are selling their cars to Sell Any Car. So now we can sell to consumers. We have the financing solutions. We have the returns. We have the refurbishment. We have all the muscles required. And then you can create the so-called Amazon experience, right? People now buy stuff online on Amazon without thinking. If you don't like it, send it back.
Literally,
It will be for cars as well. That is one of my predictions. I also feel that we have a new breed of humans, right? There is, if I look at team members I have a team member who's 18 years old. I also have team members that are 60 years old.
60? You have a 60-year-old member as well working for you?
I didn't say 160, 60.
Okay.
You're young.
Yes. But still, it feels a bit old.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if you look at the new generation, for them, the online world is so normal. Like, social media is part of their identity.
Literally.
Right? We grew up without internet, and then we're happy when we had a phone. Then we were happy that we had internet on the phone. And then we were even happier when we could do some transactions online, right? So, but they started off in a world that is totally online. So how will these people think about the future? It's not the way how we think about the future. So I always say, if it's too futuristic for you, then your times might be over.
Oof.
Right? So if you complain about the times you live in, your times might be over. This is something which I always have to remind myself. I say, look, it sounds crazy that a robot is making your pizza. Sounds crazy that you buy cars online. I was ridiculed when I said I will sell fashion online in 2009. Who will buy fashion online? They have to do try-ons. Nobody will just buy it like that. Today, who would laugh about somebody who says I have an online shop for fashion? It's totally normal. So what weird thing are you doing today that is going to be considered normal in 5 years? That's the question I'm asking myself. So I think about the future of car trade, right? I also think about mega trends. I think there's no point as an entrepreneur to fight mega trends. You'd rather ride trends. So you don't want to solve a problem that is already solving itself, right?
Mega trends such as what?
Urbanization is a mega trend. People moving into bigger cities, moving away. COVID had a slight reversal from that, but actually the mega trend for the past 20 years is actually people moving to bigger cities. So what does that mean? Instant gratification is another mega trend. People have no patience, especially the new breed of people. If you look at the way we actually created videos back then, if I look at my vlogs, we had intros that took 30 seconds. Today, if you do not hook the people within 3 seconds, they are gone. We have no more patience. So think about businesses, think about opportunities that ride these waves. People have no patience. They want now. People want cheaper now, right? So there is always going to be price pressure. There's going to be time pressure, right? When we did fashion deliveries online, we said, we'll deliver in a week. No way. We deliver in 2 days. No way. Now it's same day, right? So these are mega trends. If you zoom out and see what has been happening, I'm trying to see these bigger pictures and then see, okay, so people want to transact online. People want it fast. People want it cheaper. People are more in cities. And there are more mega trends. Combine all of this and you might be onto something.
Saigin, thank you for your time. I think this is a good way to end it. The future looks bright for the mega trends, for your business. I wish you all the best and
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All right. That's it.